So, continuing our talk with relation to memory and its location, we have seen earlier heap and stack. And for a program, which variables goes to stack and which one takes the place of heap. Now, we need to talk about pointers as far as dynamic allocation is concerned. A pointer is what? It is an integer that points to location in memory, specifically if it is an address of a byte. So pointer contains the address. It is also a variable, but it contains the address. This means that all pointers are of similar size and that the size of pointer used by a computer places a limit on the size of memory it can address. This is very important. For instance, let us consider a computer using typical 32-bit pointers that can only address up to 2 to the power 32, means 32-bit means 2 to the power 32 bytes, or 4 GB of memory. But the modern shift to the 64-bit architectures turns this to 2 to the power 64 bytes, which will be sufficient for a while. In C and C++ programming languages, pointer types, they are declared by a star. This is a star which is behind a regular type name. For example, this is a regular type. This is the name of the pointer, and how you're going to know that this is the pointer, or how compiler is going to know that this is pointer, is using this star. In the same way, character star, and then again int star star means this is a pointer to a pointer. A pointer is pointing to a variable, then a pointer which is pointing to that pointer is pointed to a pointer. And this is a void pointer. They all declare pointers. So what we achieve by this is that all these are just addresses of some memory location. And in these languages, they do not care what we store there and declare that with some types, say integer, is mostly for the programmer's benefit. It may actually prevent us from messing up the use of data stored in the location. It may affect some arithmetic on memory location, which is done, which we just see now. And there are two ways in which regular variables and pointers often interact, and which are like this. For example, we want to find out where in memory a variable resides, that is, to get the pointer to the variable location. Also, we want to treat the location a pointer points to a variable, or as a variable, that is, we need to access the data that location by reading it or overriding it. So let us see a piece of code which illustrates these examples or these assertions, as well as the problems or the pitfalls we might run into. For example, if this is int star p, that is, we have two pointers p and q, as we know that star before the variable says that it is a pointer. So we have pointers to two integers, int I and j. I is 5, p is pointing to say I, and q is pointing to j, but it is not yet been known. But I equal to 5 is a simple variable, j equal to 10 is again a variable. And if I want that p should point to I, what I'll do is, I will take the address of I, by ampersand I can get the address. So address of I will be stored in p, and p can only contain the address. So it obtains the addresses of I and save it to p. In a similar fashion, if I want to print this p, see out p, this line, it prints out the value of p, that is address of I. So p will be the address. If you print p, it will be the address, and that will be the address corresponding to this I, where 5 is stored. And if I want to use this pointer to actually print the value which it is pointing, then I can just do this star p. This is called dereferencing. And this value prints the value of integer that p points to, which is the value of I. Now, if I assign j to star p was actually pointing to the address or it was having the address of I, and it was pointing to I. But now with this particular instruction, it overrides the value of the location that P is pointing to. So I with the value of J. Now this overwriting the value of the location of that P, which P points to with the value of J. Now J, this star P will contain, or the address of P, this is the value actually, star P is the value. So star P will have J, and now star P on J will have the value of overwriting the I, right? So this star Q equal to star P, again star P is containing this J, and this giving to star Q, so it overrides the value of location of Q with 1 that points to P, which is actually equal to Q equal to P, right? This is Q equal to P, it overrides the point of P with Q, so they now points to the similar location. So there may be some complication you may feel, but in later sessions you will understand, but you have to understand that this is a pointer, and if you want to print this value which it points to, you can just do by star P. One more aspect we need to see is the last two commands we just saw both result in star P being equal to star Q, but in different ways. There are two different ways. In the first case, we copy the value from one location to another, while in second, we make both points to the similar place. So we started pointing, this is the second case, and both the variables means pointer, they are pointing to a single value. And the other one was, the value of one location was copied to the other. And the second to last command is quite risky and will likely cause a runtime error. Okay, so this will lead to somewhat error. Why? Because we have not initialized Q yet, so it points to an arbitrary memory location, or possibly 0. Okay, we are using Q, star Q means star Q will be having some value, it will be pointing to some value, but star Q was never initialized to any J. See, only P was initialized. Where was Q? Q was not initialized. Now it may point to any arbitrary location, and we will land up in some order of the problem. And what we are doing, we were trying to overwrite it, which most likely the program is not allowed to. So the location may belong to the operating system or some other program which might be running. Okay, but nowadays the programs actually throw runtime error that okay, this memory is being used by me, kindly don't peek into my space. This may happen, but as a programmer, as a person who is actually knowing the data structure, this problem should not come, so we should be aware of this. Previously, the operating system would allow you to do such an override, we just saw, in which case often some complete system crashes would happen. This we have already seen. People who might be having quite a overview of what was going on 10 years back, they are aware of this. And talking about this null, this is a special pointer we used for an uninitialized pointer variable, or to express that a pointer is not pointing anywhere. So we try to write this star P, first P equal to null. Okay, you can use null as a special pointer, and if we get a runtime. Why? Null is really just another way of saying 0. So we said above that the pointers are just numbers, and the null pointer points to memory location 0. In C++11, there is a new keyword for this, namely null pointer. So you are not going to do this because we will get a runtime error, not a compile time error, but you will get a runtime error. For that, you can use null PTR. And if you set the compiler flag to compile the C++11, C++11 is the penalty made for C++14, which is running just now. And you should use null pointer instead of null. Please be aware, don't use null, only use null pointer because we are way ahead of C++11. This is the recent or the more widely used version or specification of C++. The earlier observation about this appearance of initialized pointers have suggested us that whenever we have a pointer variable, you should always assign it to a null right away as you declare it. So, as in our example, we should have written star p equal to null or star q equal to null. That way, if we later somewhere forget to assign it before dereferencing, at least it will not cause any trouble for us. Rather than possibly processing some garbage and then in reading from the location, and possibly in the end or after some time it will give some erroneous result. So this is a good programming practice to actually get rid of the debug time. So ampersand and star, they are inverses of each other. Ampersand gives the address and star dereferences the value, means gives you the value which is stored at that address. Thus, this and this is similar to P. First we are trying to find the address and then dereferencing. So we are getting P or likewise. And the exception is if you place star in between. This throws a runtime error. In this particular case, it throws a runtime error when applied to P equal to null. This is not going to happen instead of being equal to P. So pointers are typical. There are few rules of thumb. We'll see later that will weed out some common mistakes. But normally speaking, it is easy for a programmer to assign a program pointer correctly, resulting in runtime errors. Pointers are the main cause of problems, but they are most important also. So we discussed earlier that pointers are nothing but integers. They differ in that arithmetic in somewhat different manner. So when you have a pointer p to int like int and star and p, and if you write p plus 1, the compiler assumes that you want the address where the next integer will start, which is 4 bytes later. So p plus 1, as we said that this is arithmetic, it is arithmetically operated only. P plus 1 will point to the next location, which is 4 bytes ahead. So, thus the actual address referenced by this p plus 1 is actually 4 ahead of the address of p. So this is where this pointer matters. And when you have this void star, void is nothing. Void star means pointer to nothing. Then additionally, it does refer to adding individual bytes. For all others, when you write this p plus k for some pointer p and integer k, this references memory location like pk, the star of size type, where this type is the type of the pointer p. And if you use this, then you can get the other result. Then dynamic memory allocation, this is also very important because we have already discussed it, but still we need to revisit it. So in order to dynamically allocate and deallocate the memory which is provided to us, there are two pairs of functions. One is C style, the other is C++ style. What happens in C, the function for allocating memory is malloc, and for deallocation it's free. So malloc goes with free, free goes with malloc. And in C++, the functions are new corresponding to malloc and delete corresponding to free. So let us discuss the C style as it is a little closer to the actual lower level implementation, and then we'll go to C++. C style, the function void star, okay, malloc. Unsigned int size, this request, malloc requests size bytes of memory from the operating system and returns the pointer to that location as a result. So it returns a pointer to that location. And for some reason, if OS fail to allocate the memory, then if it may not have sufficient memory, null is returned instead. Okay. So the function void free, again void pointer free, or pointer, void star pointer, this releases the memory located by the pointer for using, which was earlier allocated by malloc. So a solution to our earlier problem of a dynamically sized array would look like this. How? We have made n as a variable. Now we have a pointer b which is pointing to some integer. We have taken n. Now what we do is b is equal to, this is in same line. Okay? This is in same line. So b equal to malloc n into size of integer. So malloc will allocate size of n into 4 size of integer, and in star we have to cast it. But if this is your duty in star, so this and this are in same line, and we can just run for from I to n, and we can just print bi. Okay, this is b. This was a pointer. What we allocated through malloc is the size, which is in integer star, because we have to typecast it by yourself, and b can be easily printed. So in order to request space for 9 this integers, n integers actually, we need to figure out how many bytes that is. Then this is how size of integer. This is done by size of integer. Then we multiply size of integer with rather than hard coding it, we just use size of integer, because maybe in future it may go to 8 or some other value. And now malloc returns void star, as I just suggested. Malloc, this is the prototype of malloc. Malloc results in void star. So now it is your duty to actually cast it to some data type. So we want to use it for an array of integers. So we cast it as int star. This is how this particular thing has been done. This int star. And as a good programming practice, we need to check b is equal to null. It may happen that b was not assigned anything. So b equal to null can be checked before going to do anything with it, like dereferencing. Another thing which we can observe here is that we can reference b just like any array. See, we have just referenced it like an array, simple array. The compiler treats this exactly as star b plus i. B plus I and I will increase from I, because we have used a for loop, and you can possibly remember in this way, pointer arithmetic that points to the ith entry of the array. In fact, that exactly how C++ internally treats all arrays anyways, because they are just pointers, because they are only memory addresses. So if we want to write bi in a complicated way by doing all the pointer arithmetic by hand, we could write just like this: int star void star b plus I into size of int. This is another way of all this. The 3 lines, you can keep it in 1 line, but it's far more complicated. This is not what we like to type. But if you understand everything that happens here, you could possibly do it. To return the memory to the OS after we are done using it, we will use this free, and this is very easy: free b, or b equal to null. We need to note that this free does nothing to the pointer b by itself. It only deallocates the memory that b was given to, asking or requesting the operating system that it is available for use. Thus, we recommend that you immediately set the pointer to null, so that your code does not attempt to tamper any invalid memory. And if you reference this b somewhere, you will get surely a runtime error. If you don't set b equal to null, the OS might give the memory to another variable, and you accidentally reference or override that one. This is a problem. So this is the mistake that can be much harder to detect, and is easily avoided by setting the pointer to null immediately after deallocating. So this is how it can be done. Now, as we indicated that we have seen that C++, we'll also talk about C++ style. C we have already seen. C++ will use new function and delete that provide some syntactic value added to C, malloc and free. Basically, they relieve us from all calculation of number of bytes being needed, the casting of pointers, and provides more array-like syntax. For example, this int n, int star b, cin, only what we have to do is b is equal to new int n. So there are no parentheses, but we have used these brackets for the number of items, and this new, it figures out by itself how much memory is needed, and returns the correct type of pointer. You don't need to cast the pointer. So if we wanted some space for just one integer, this is possible. Only start is with new int, only one is possible or one is allowed, which is not really very useful for a single integer. It will become very central to allocating objects later, where we often allocate one at a time dynamically. But to release memory, the equivalent of free, as we suggested here, is delete operator. What we have to do is delete star this array which we use because we are trying to delete the array. So we use this, or rather just delete p. These are the two ways of deleting. So this first example deallocates the array, while this second deallocates a single instance of a variable, and this allocates or deallocates the memory pointed by the pointers. As with free, it still leaves the pointer themselves pointing to similar memory location. So again, a good idea is to use b is equal to null and p equal to null after the delete commands. An important thing to note, memory leaks. This is often asked question also in interviews. Let us look a little more into this memory leak thing that can go wrong with your dynamic memory allocation. Let us have a pointer called x which is pointing to double. I am allocating a size 100 and to x and 200 again to x. So we need a bigger array now. And again freeing also. So this code will compile just fine and no crashes. We have correctly allocated 100 double, use it for computation, and then allocate an array of 200 double when we understand that we don't need any memory. But notice or see what happens. The moment we do the second allocation like this, x gets overwritten with a pointer to the newly allocated memory block. The memory we do the second allocation is allocated. So at this point, we have no more recollection of the pointer to the previous memory block. This means we cannot read it. We cannot read this, write it or free it because we have not done it already. We are trying to reuse it. But this is not possible. So when at the end of the code snippet, the program checks this free x, it successfully frees up the second allocated memory block like this. But we are unable to tell the operating system that we don't need the first block anymore or not. This one. So if 800 bytes, because 200 into 4, that is 800 bytes, will never become again available. Again, until some program terminates, but for all we know, it may run for several years as a backend server somewhere. This kind of situation is called as memory leak. Available memory is slowly leaking out of the system. If it goes on long sufficient, as I said, for years, a program may run out of memory and crash for some reason which we don't know. So the diagnosis is also very difficult because it is running for a long time without any problem. So it is a good practice to keep track of the memory blocks you reserve and make sure to free memory pointed to by a pointer assigning before reassigning it. There are tools for checking your code for memory leaks, and you must know it, you must learn it. A most well-known one for which the course web page contains some link is Valgrind. You can use this Valgrind for using this memory leak. Now a better version of the code above would be like this: double star x, malloc it x, then you free it if you are not using it, or if you have done some code, free it, point x to null, again reallocate with 200, free it and then make it null. That way the memory gets released while we still have a pointer to it. You will recall that it is always good practice to immediately set pointers to null that I just suggested after deallocating their memory. Now in the middle of the code that may seem very redundant, after all we immediately overwrite x with another value we have just seen. So it becomes completely redundant. But still I recommend that you add this line. For example, you may later insert some code between this free x and new assignment x, and that could cause problem otherwise. So if you're worried about your programs wasting time with unnecessary assignments like this, all these assignments and all. Though the compiler will almost certainly optimize the assignment anyway, and the final code will look exactly similar. One question is there. If we could just free the memory by setting x equal to null without calling free x, this might be, you might be thinking about it. Why to do all this, just x equal to null, whether it is possible or not? That would only override the pointer actually. It will not tell the operating system that it can have the memory back. Operating system is not being told that you can take the memory back. So in other words, it will exactly create a memory leak. Again a problem. So whenever you want to return a memory to the system, you do what has been just suggested. Because there are other programming languages that do much more of the garbage collection memory handling for you, but C++ is not. Java is doing by itself memory and garbage collection, but C++ you have to do it by yourself. So if you look up some of the information, where the sources are there, keep in mind that the pool of the memory when you allocate variables with a new or malloc is called a memory heap. So this is dynamically, if you allocate, it will go to your heap. And this is different from the data structure we know as heap, which we'll study later. Heap is a memory, heap data structure is different. We can have this name, but trivially it has already been done. So hope you got the idea about dynamic memory allocation, new, malloc, and the memory leak. Thank you so much. Take care.